Good morning. Sorry about that. Man. That's a violent sneeze, man. Oh, man. Not my greatest move there, but can't help it. Can't help it. Oh, man. It is Friday. Friday. Trying to get us on here on the Facebook. We are got a great rain last night, an inch of rain. We are we had an inch of rain last night. We had really good rain all through the state from north to south, and it's moving from west to east, and just a line that's given. I checked the Mesonet, which I don't know if they have those in other states, but here in Oklahoma, that's they've got all these stations, and you can weather stations that you can pick from, and all the ones that would kind of tell me where all of our grass and stuff is. I got an inch and 3/10, probably on inch and 2 to 3/10 on all of them. So it and further west they got a little bit more, but further west was where along the really the western fourth of the state they needed that rain. They even worse than we did. Morning, Mom. Good morning, Jason. Morning, Tim. Good morning, Sean Summers. Misty. Good morning. We are Friday morning, loving the rain, loving the cool weather that is only probably half as bad as it can be this time of year. So, we've all seen Oklahoma be extremely cold. Morning, Sean Delaney. But we've definitely are blessed to have some good rain. So anyway, we're gonna give everybody just a second here, and we're gonna jump in. Good morning, Mara. We're gonna jump into chapter 13 of Proverbs. We're just moving through Proverbs, hitting some of the highlights on these chapters at one chapter a day. It's been pretty fun, I think. What you see, and I think a lot of people, I've told people this, and one of the valuable things about Scripture is that it teaches us how to really live and do things right. And the theme of Proverbs is wisdom, receiving counsel, correcting what's wrong, doing things better. But it talks about with people, it talks about with finances, it talks about with your, business relationships and how to do things. So, morning Tyson, morning Boyd Pete, morning Wendy. All right. Well, let's go into the Word here in Proverbs chapter 13 and just continue to hit those highlights. Not going to read every verse, but a few of these we'll hit. This chapter gets into how to raise your children as well, or correct and guide and discipline your children, or it talks about those things. It says, a wise child accepts a parent's discipline. A mocker refuses to listen to correction. And so, he separates out the children. Of course, we'd all love our children to listen to the Bible and practice it. But we teach them to be wise. Here's the thing. Anytime you're raising kids, and obviously some of you already raised your kids, but maybe you're helping with your grandkids, or maybe you're helping your kids guide their kids. And the world we live in, there's so much information. Everything's changed from when I raised our kids. Our kids are from 20 to 32. and our 4 kids, and a couple of big gaps in those kids, 'cause the middle 2 are closer together. So we kind of have different scenarios in ours, rather than having all 4 of them, packed into 6 or 8 years of time. So the ages, the combinations, and you may have 1 instead of 3 or 4. It all changes. All is different. But I can tell you this: from raising 4, they're all different. Their personalities are different. Their way that they receive correction's different. And I was thinking about this even before I knew this was what we were going to talk about. For some reason, maybe because we have so many young families in church, and I'm helping them. But what we did with our kids was we extended them as much responsibility as they could handle, and they learned to understand, if I take charge, if I take responsibility and I do things correct, I get a lot of freedom. I can make a lot of choices, and you kind of increase that as they get older and as they can handle that. And that's one way to guide and direct a kid. So you can kind of gauge your children by how they receive discipline and correction as to how wise they are. I guess that's the way I would apply that, more so than telling them you need to be wise and listen to me. You can kind of demonstrate how much you can give them as responsibility at where they're at in that maturity level. But the different personalities, different things work. And so praying to God and saying, God, show me how to help this kid be that wise kid. What am I doing as a parent that can influence that, or maybe as a grandparent, not just telling them all the time, but listening, and guiding them. You don't have to be just a friend and nice all the time, but you need to be willing to allow them some room for as they get older, especially involvement. I remember one of our kids. We had 3 daughters. The two for our oldest are girls, and the difference between those 2 girls, there were 5 years between them, and because we'd gone back to college in between there, but we set up this. The second daughter was very different, and boy, it was a struggle to figure out what she was going to wear. And we didn't want to have a fight every morning. We didn't want to turn that. But we didn't want to let her always choose, because you can't let your kids always have, rule, or they want to rule in everything. If they can choose one thing, they can choose everything they think. And we're talking a young age. But we learned to lay out 2 or sometimes 3 outfits. Okay, here's what you can wear. You can choose this one, 1, 2, or 1 or 2. Pick one of those. That way she felt like she had a part, but we were still determining where the boundaries were. And so you extend all that. Now, we all have tactics and tricks and things we did as parents, I'm sure. And I can tell you some things that we did that we would have done different. And by the 4th one, we think we kind of got it figured out. But it took practicing on that first one, and we all probably did some of that. But wise words will win you a good meal, at that verse 2. But treacherous people will have an appetite for violence. Man, I tell you what, wise words will win you a good meal. I don't know how that one exactly fits and applies. But it just means wise words end up getting good return, and I think that's it. But verse 3 is a really, really good one. He says, "Those who control their tongue will have a long life. Opening your mouth can ruin everything." So we know controlling our tongue affects a lot of things. We talk a lot about words, but notice how he ties it to keeping your mouth shut. He says controlling your tongue, and then he says opening your mouth can ruin everything. So he's saying control your tongue, don't say anything. And boy, isn't that the truth? We've all experienced that, I'm sure, where we look back and say, well, I wish I hadn't opened my mouth. I wished I wouldn't have said I would do that, or I wished I wouldn't have offered that advice that was taken wrong. I wished I wouldn't have chimed in, just stay out of it. And sometimes that's going to be the case. And the more wise we are in how to do that, some more than others are always getting in trouble maybe, or it's easy because you don't talk much. You're just a quiet person. Lazy people, verse 4, lazy people want much but get little, but those who work hard will prosper. Boy, you hear this theme all the way through the Proverbs. He talks about hard work, doing what is necessary. The contrast between lazy and this one's not so much about the godly and the wicked contrast, but it's those that'll listen and receive correction, and those who won't, and those who are work hard, and those who don't. Also, it says the godly hate lies, and the wicked cause shame and disgrace. He says the godly hate lies. Not only does God hate lies, but the godly hate lies. And so we hate to receive a lie, but we ought to hate a lie, meaning we're not going to say it either. We're going to tell the truth, okay? So, and if you can't tell the truth, being honest, if it's going to hurt somebody, then just resist saying anything, right? Godliness guards the path of the blameless, but the evil are misled by sin. So, man, just on and on. It just has such great direction here. Verse 10 says, I'm going to jump ahead, pride leads to conflict, and those who take advice are wise. So pride leads to conflict because pride says, I'm right, you're wrong. It's cut and dry. Pride in an argument will demand its own way, will fight to win, and instead, but it says those who take advice are wise. So allowing somebody, not being so prideful that you can't listen to their side. I think that's a part of how that would apply to us and help us. I know even when we know or we feel like we're right, if you can pause and allow somebody to interject their advice in their direction, they're part of wisdom. And sometimes they may not be wholly right, completely right, or they may not be be somebody that you would want to direct your business affairs or decisions or how you do things. But taking advice, you can hear what they say, then make your choice and your decision based on what you know and then what they've offered, and you can always it's kind of like preaching in the word, things that you're hearing or a flood of information. I heard a guy say, be like an old cow, eat the hay but spit out the sticks. Sort through that advice, sort through those things. What really fits, what's for you today. Some of this, whenever you're reading it, it doesn't apply to you yet. Maybe you don't have kids, or maybe your kids are already grown. Maybe you don't have pride in your heart. Maybe you're willing. So just roll on through and take the part that does apply. 11 is a good one. Wealth from get-rich-quick schemes quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows over time. So it may not be as fast, but it's more consistent, more stable. It's going to be there for a longer period of time. Now, verse 12 is one. It's one I've preached whole sermons around or used as a scripture to base a lot of life on. It says, "Hope deferred makes a heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life." When we hope for something or we dream about something and we put something out in front of us, and it's deferred. It takes a long time to get there. Sometimes, boy, I tell you what, the heart's heavy. The delay is long. It weights down our life. But when we realize that dream, when it's fulfilled, doesn't that just bring life into you? And so you got to kind of ask yourself, is this dream I'm dreaming, this thing that's out there, this thing that's deferred and put my hope in, is it something that is from God? Is it good? Is it something that I should continue to pursue? Or do I just need to set that aside? Allowing God to set our dreams, our goals, our future plans, the things that we're hoping for, is a big part of that, because God will give us the strength to hold on until it comes, but He'll also give us wisdom to not be setting our heart on things that aren't for us. Aren't best for us. If it's something that's good, man, work hard, maintain it, trust in God, allow the strength of God to allow you to hold on to that. But if it ends up being something that you can let go of, just let go of it, and move on. It's not something you should continue to pursue. Then there's no value in that. It's not quitting if you decide to end something that needs to end. Okay, I guess that's my 2 cents there on that. Let's jump down to verse 16. Wise people think before they act. Fools don't, and even brag about their foolishness. Just simple little proverbs like this, simple little scriptures that aren't they so true? And we can sit back and we can say, yeah, that's so true. Wise people think before they act. And our mind might have gone immediately to somebody that that doesn't think before they act, or maybe a time whenever you didn't think before you acted and made a mess of life. But fools don't. So here's the thing: if we've been foolish, or if you've got somebody that you're helping that has been foolish, you can teach them, or we can teach ourselves, and we can learn from our mistakes, so that we don't keep going in that circle and that cycle of foolish decisions and poor decisions. Wise people think before they act. Fools don't, and they even brag about their foolishness. Now, verse 20, and because we got to wrap this up. Verse 20: walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble. Again, throughout this, it tells us how to build relationships and who to build relationships with. It's just the better part of wisdom. We teach our kids. If you've raised kids, or if you remember being a kid, your parents probably told you don't need to hang out with that person. They're nothing but trouble. You don't need to build, that relationships, or you need to end that. But even as we get into becoming adults, I remember one time I was when we were in Tulsa for that short period of time, and I talked about the food sales company that I worked for, that God put me in for a short period of time, where it was just a way and a means to provide income. But I remember that the boss, it was everybody in there. I think I was at the time, I don't remember how old I was. It was in 2000, so I was around in my 30s, or around 30, and there was probably 35, something like that. There were several of these guys that were younger than me, but I remember one day the boss decides to come. We were headed to lunch, a couple of the guys. There's about 3 of us, and he comes out and jumps in, and he takes us, and we end up pulling up to this bar, and I'm in the back. And we end up going, and it wasn't anything really bad happening, but it was the situation where I could tell real quickly that he was not somebody that I would hang out with outside of work. The decisions, the choices, the conversations, all the things that were, we went to lunch, we went back to work. It wasn't a big deal, but it told me real quickly if he'd have asked to go out, which I wouldn't have done. I had 3 kids at home and a family, but it was easy for me to choose that. But there's been other times where you're connected with them, and maybe God begins to direct you to change who you have those close connections and associations with. So anyway, even us as adults got to make good choices with who we hang out with and who we let influence our life. You may have to spend time with them, but don't let them influence you and direct your decisions and your choices. All right, well, we're going to wrap this up today. Man, go out today. It's Friday. Have a good final day of your work week, unless you're working on Saturday, and then just have another one on Saturday. But find a good church on Sunday, and if you're close to Carrier area, we'd love to have you out there. Be blessed in all you do, and go get them for Jesus. Love y'all. Morning, Scott Keller. Morning, Regina. Sean Mayfield. Got a good rain. Jeff Washburn, good morning. Man, we got a good rain. Ryan Owens, good Good to see you on here. Brad, good morning. Kim, good morning. I think I got into the others that had signed on or said something. Man, what a blessing it is to have the opportunity to gather together around the Word. All right. Well, you guys have a blessed day.